It is October 2nd, Q3 2023. Mortgage rates are sitting consistently around 8%. The hell does that mean for you? If you're looking to buy, if you have a home, if you're looking to sell a home, and what is the market doing? We're going to dive into those stats and more in this video. So if you hate statistics, if you're not a big fan of data, especially here in the Charleston market, this probably isn't for you. But that said, I'll try to give some national insight, but certainly more specifically, we're going to take a look at what's going on here in Charleston. So let's dive right in. All right, here's a market overview provided by the fine folks at the Charleston Regional MLS. This comprises of the entirety of the Charleston market. So several counties comprise of the Charleston market, the general Charleston area, from Sullivan's Island to Somerville, from Walterboro to Allendale. This comprises everything. This is the market overview that you're seeing below. Some of these metrics and graphs just going back in the past couple of years. But let's really dive into each and just look at historical trends over time. That's really what I want to do. So new listings are down. New listings year over year are down 15.6%. But what I really want you to look at beyond just these month to month changes year over year is let's look at this. All of these graphs are going to go back to January 2005. So almost 20 years of data comprised on each of these graphs. And look at what happens over time, guys. I mean, obviously, new listings really spiked 2007, 2008, as you'll see in future slides. A lot of those homes during the financial crisis, short sales, foreclosures, people trying to sell existed out on the market for a long time. Took a long time for those properties to get absorbed. But look right here. The slowest amount of new listings in some time. I mean, if we're looking back, about roughly 2,000 pop in a month for most of sort of our peak time during spring and summer. We've got to go all the way back to about 2013 since we saw this sort of stagnation. We still had a lot of inventory glut left over from the years prior, back in 2013, of people trying to put new homes on market. It's also during a time in which not a lot of builders were building, so we didn't have new home starts buoying. Well, certainly we have a little bit more now, but not enough. So it's something to keep in mind as we go through. Okay, let's look at pending sales. Pending sales, also down 20% year over year, really took a dive around the time interest rates started tightening. Let's talk about that for a second. So a lot of, I think, what you'll see in recent trends are some of these drastic impacts on our data in terms of pending sales, closings, new starts. It's because the Fed started tightening rates, during this time, what we're going to effectively call quantitative tightening, which is just a nice way of saying they jacked up interest rates. And while interest rates and mortgage rates, are not directly correlated, they often tend to mirror each other. So here you see during that quantitative tightening, pending sales took a dip. People trying to figure out, are they going to loosen up soon? Trying to make predictions. The market going to crash? Recession going to hit? Obviously, pending sales tends to come back up. And in each of these, the important thing to note, I mean, you can almost see, for those of you thinking, what's the best time of year to list my home? Well, historically, as you'll see with pricing as well, you have a run up during spring, summer. And why is that? Well, that's when most families are considering making moves, right? It's also, we're clear of the holidays. I mean, November, December, January of every year, it's like the slowest time. Why? Because not a ton of people are considering making moves during that time. So wouldn't you want during springtime to really push forth your listing when you know you're going to get max exposure to the buyers that are existing out in the market, of course. So that's what we see every time. Closed sales also down 20%. Again, why is that? It's not just because interest rates have gone up. It's also because a lot of people, including but not limited to myself, went out and bought or refinanced during 2020, 2021, 2022 when rates were low. A lot of people with a mortgage sitting out there have a mortgage under 4.5%. Those people are not incentivized to put their place on market. So just like you see with new listings kind of stagnating. Why is that? Well, it's because people that have that low rate mortgage, that low fixed 30-year rate traditionally in residential, are sitting in their homes going, I'm not getting rid of this rate. I'm locked in, unless they have to move for a variety of reasons, job relocation. We've had 17 children and a 2-bedroom just doesn't work for us anymore. A number of those reasons, yes, that will necessitate a move. But those folks who are traditionally maybe be upgrading at this stage of life, not happening. Okay. Days on market, up 83% year over year. Oh my God, what a staggering number. Look at it over time. When I started my career, for the most part, I knew that I'd have to be dealing with somebody if I took on their listing for 2 to 3 months on active market, open houses, all sorts of stuff. Anybody who got licensed in the past 3 years, 4 years, look how easy their job was. They've hardly had to deal with these people. Hey, I put it on market, I market it right, and it sells. Well, now that they're up 83%, maybe some of those people aren't saying that, but why is that also happening? Well, let's be honest. A lot of folks out in the market continue doing what sellers tend to do, which is they see, hey, Bill and Janine up the street, our house is about the same size. Ours is way nicer. So I'm going to list it 10 to 15% over what they just sold theirs for a couple months back. But a couple months back, their interest rates were lower. And any market segment that's impacted by mortgage rates are going to factor that in. Their monthly payments just more expensive than what it was a little while ago. They're not going to want to pay that. So while median prices, average sales prices have gone up and up and up, so is the cost to carry it, simply because not just insurance and taxes, but primarily a big bulk of that is the interest payment that they have to make. Something to keep in mind as we continue on. Median sales price still up. Now, why the hell is that? As you've seen, our listings, our pending sales, our closed sales have all stagnated. Because not only are a lot of people locked in at a low rate, but over time, you've also had demand remaining high. Why the hell is demand high? You got to look at population. I don't have population charts here available to me, but what I can tell you is, as a millennial, everybody in my age bracket, everybody in my generation has reached a life juncture in which they're either getting into their first, for the very young millennials, they're looking to maybe get into their first home and gain home ownership for the first time, condos, townhouses, starter homes. Or, like myself, they're getting married, starting families, necessitates more of a need for more space, more house, moving to the burbs. Well, simultaneously, their parents' generation, the baby boomers, have started to reach that critical life juncture moment of maybe retiring, coming to places like Charleston, out competing their very children for homes in suburbs to try to be close to their actual children. So again, something to keep in mind as we continue looking through some of these Q3 numbers as to why historically, we're seeing such high demand, pending sales over time, and wait till you see, of course, the all being median sales price climbing over time as that competition revved up. Now, of course, low interest rates played a huge part in that, right? We had low interest rates certainly through, Trump administration 2016 through 2020. And then rates, obviously, the Fed starting to do a lot of quantitative tightening in the past year and a half. And we're starting to see some of those impacts now. But median sales price, average sales price for the region still up. Why? Well, there's still demand out there and an undersupply of homes. Now, supply, as you've seen, has certainly started to taper off, people locked in place. Now this is the change that's really starting to happen, alluding to some of the points I was making earlier. Percent of original list price received down 3%. Now, if you'd have done that or listed back in 2022, year prior, you're getting 101% of purchase price. So if you list your price at $500,000, you think I'm going to sell it for $505 on average. That's what this is telling us. But now that's starting to trend down. Why? Because people are listing their houses too high. And the agents, especially as transactional volume dissipates, are all too incentivized to take on that overpriced listing in hopes that I can price reduce your home down. Now, personally, I hate that strategy. I've looked people in the eye. I've done this recently and said, I don't know what other agent you're talking to that told you you can get that number, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to struggle to get that on market. And I, of course, I might lose the listing, but I would rather not deal with someone frustrated at me for 2, 3, 6 months and not sell their home while I'm also simultaneously investing thousands of my own dollars and time into something I'm going, hey, I think I can get you more than the average agent, but the market's going to ultimately dictate the price. And the other thing I can do is, of course, avoid a lot of pitfalls through the contract and actually get you to close, because it's not just getting that initial offer, right? It's actually closing it. Inspections, appraisals, CL100s here in South Carolina can certainly throw curveballs. Anyway, housing affordability index, no shock there. Interest rates, the second they started tightening them, really went down as average prices were continuing to rise. And then here it is, inventory of homes for sale, guys. Look back in 2007, 8, 9. Scott, a lot of building going on, a lot of giant master plan communities. Oh my God, financial crisis. Oh my God, all these people are underwater on their homes, foreclosures, short sales, a lot of homes that needed to get absorbed. And then, of course, like we were talking about, population data, boomers, millennials, drive to these coastal towns like Charleston. Look at what happens over time. So yes, technically, we're up 35% year over year. It's also because I think people were just continuing to price their homes too high relative to where interest rates are at. Now, something's got to give, right? And right now, for those that need to sell, it's the number. However, most of you have so much equity built up in your home from the past couple of years, while there are certain market segments locally that have added just in a couple of years 10, 20, 30, 40% on top of what the value was just a couple years ago. Well, if you're down 16% year over year, is that a huge death knell to you? No, it's not, because you're up historically so much, and the historic average for a home is usually about 2 to 3%. It keeps pace with inflation. And then month supply of inventory, again, spiking during those recessionary years and then really tapering off. Look at how historically undersupplied we are. In terms of absorption rate, we're still absorbing homes well below well above the historic average. Back in 2008, look, my God, month supply of inventory, 15 months and up. Still not here. Now, obviously, and I've alluded to this before, if you live in West Ashley, you live in Somerville, your micro market's going to be vastly different. Look at just the changes from price point to price point on this chart. Bedrooms, single family condo, but those have impacts, right? So each situation is going to be very different. It's why you need to probably have conversations with people like me, right? People who are in the market, studying it every day, analyzing what's going to be best for you and yours. Because if you own a condo in Sullivan's Island versus West Ashley, I might have different advice for you, right? Because I think what you can see off of these charts as we just kind of quickly flip through them is that people that are at or above, in that luxury level aren't necessarily as impacted as some in terms of interest rates, because a lot of them tend to be cash deals. A lot of people in the luxury market are a little bit more immune to interest rates because they're usually not taking out a mortgage, where a lot of those folks, it's so interesting to see the folks that are kind of right at that jumbo loan stat. You can see the numbers kind of taking hold. So anyway, what the hell does this all mean for you? Well, if you're in the market to actually buy a home anytime soon, we're all just waiting and seeing what the Fed's going to do with rates. Now, what you'll hear is a lot of mortgage folks will say, well, you can buy it and refinance it. And hey, that's true. You probably can. But is that going to be in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? No one totally knows other than the Fed, right? They're the ones making this decision. So my advice is what it always is when it comes to buy a home. There's no timing the market. The best time to buy is when it financially makes sense for you to do so and you can afford to. Don't rush out and buy simply because some mortgage officer or agent or gave you a great sales pitch and said, just refinance it in a little bit. No, I wouldn't bank on that. I personally am not banking on that, even though we've bought a home in the past year. So I'd love to refinance that at some point, but it's not in my plan and it shouldn't be in yours either. Now, if you're looking to sell, again, historically, we are undersupplied. Are there more buyers sitting on the sidelines? Of course, rates are having an impact. But because we're still so undersupplied, because there's so many people out there in the market who are sitting on the sidelines with their home because they're going, I don't want to get rid of this 3, 4, 5% interest rate when I have to finance at 7 or 8. I'd love to upgrade, but I just can't afford that payment or it doesn't make sense for my family. You're still in a great equity position. You know, are you going to sell for absolute top dollar that you might have even just 6 to 12 months ago? Maybe not. But I want to try to eliminate this narrative that everybody's home is an investment, because unless you're renting it, planning on flipping it, it's not. It's a great commodity. It is an asset at the time of sale, right? But in the meantime, you have to pay to maintain it, pay taxes, insurance on it. But it's part of the great American dream, right? We have the ability to go out and buy a place, make it our shelter, raise families there. So, you know, this narrative of it's always a investment, it's not true. I mean, historically speaking, it keeps pace with inflation. It's a great savings account, but it's also something that you use, and hopefully whatever you put in, you will hopefully get back at a later stage, maybe with some appreciation, take advantage of great tax benefits, right? Deducting the mortgage interest. But all that to say, it's my way of saying in Q3 of 2023, I'm not panicking. Do I think transactional volume will be down year over year? I sure do. Unless the Fed comes out tomorrow and says, hey, we're cutting rates and we're taking them back down to 4%. I think there will be a frenzy again. I really do, if that's the case. But while we're priced high, rates are high, supply is low, I think you're just going to see places sit on market longer. I think we're going to get back in a more neutral cycle, things staying on market longer, places that are well presented, well marketed, probably selling a little bit quicker than the ones that price really high and maybe need some work. So all that to say, for the time being, the best thing that you can do, if you're really starting to have some of these thoughts, pick up the phone, call someone you trust in the space. If I don't know you, it doesn't have to be me necessarily. I'd love if it was in Charleston. But whether you're here in Charleston, if you made it this far in this video and you're here in New York or wherever, talk to people that you trust, that if you're making these decisions, you feel confident in doing them. Because again, the best time to buy and sell is when it makes sense for you and yours to do so. That wraps up our Q3 market update for Charleston. I appreciate any of the time spent with me and hope to see each of you out there soon. Take care.